Form 4, First Midterm Human Biology, Lesson number 2, Movements of Substances into and out of cells. Learning Objectives. There are three major learning objectives. The first one is to obtain the knowledge about the simple definitions of diffusion, osmosis and active transport. The second one is to understand the factors that affect the rate of movements of the substances into and out of the cells. And the third one is to understand the movements of the substances into and out of the cells can be by diffusion, osmosis and active transport. Movement of substances. Cell need to move different substances into and out of the cell in order to function properly. The cell membrane is selective about which chemicals can pass through it. So, there are three major ways. Diffusion, osmosis and active transport are the three processes which this take place. Let's move to the first concept, diffusion. Diffusion means the net passive movement of molecules or particles from the region of higher to the region of lower concentration. This process will be occurred due to the random movements of the particles. So, this can be defined as a passive process, which means no energy is required. So, from the below diagram, you can clearly identify how that process is going on. So, according to this diagram, you can clearly identify that diffusion is the net movement of anything from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, and diffusion is driven by a gradient in concentration. Diffusion and breathing. Oxygen is inhaled, air diffuses through the lungs and into the bloodstream. The oxygen is then transported throughout the body. Carbon dioxide is a waste gas produced by respiration process. Carbon dioxide diffuses from body tissues into the bloodstream and exhaled via the lungs. What are the factors that affect to the rate of diffusion? Let's move to the factors that are affecting to the rate of diffusions. So, there are 5 major factors: temperature, surface area, concentration gradient, size of particles and diffusion medium. Let's move to the first one, temperature. The rate of diffusion is greater at higher temperatures. This is because a high temperature provides the particle with more kinetic energy. So the second factor is surface area. You know that a larger surface area in proportion to the volume will increase the rate of diffusion. Third one is concentration gradient. Diffusion happens more quickly when there is a steep concentration gradient, which simply means that if there is a huge difference in concentration between two areas, then the diffusion happens more quickly. So, the fourth one is size of particles. If there is smaller particles, they can diffuse faster than the larger particles. The fifth factor is diffusion medium. So, there are 3 types of mediums: solid, liquid and gas. In the solid medium, particles have the slowest diffusion rate. And when we consider about the liquid medium, the diffusion rate is quite faster than the solid medium. And finally, gaseous medium has the fastest rate of diffusion. So, let's move to the second process, that is active transport. In cellular biology, active transport is the movement of molecules across a cell membrane from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration against the concentration gradient. So, active transport requires cellular energy to achieve this movement. So, with this diagram, you can clearly identify that in the outside of the cell, there is a lower concentration region, and the inside of the cell there is a higher concentration region. So the molecules are moving from the lower concentration region to higher concentration region by using those kind of pumps. For this pumping process, they need energy. So according to this diagram, you can clearly identify that there are two major regions. In the right side, there is the area of lower concentration, and in the left side, there is the area of higher concentration. So the molecules are passing through the area of lower concentration to higher concentration by active transport process. So energy is required to go against the concentration gradient, and the energy formed which we use for this process is called as ATP. Our next topic is type of active transport. Under this topic, first we are going to discuss about protein pumps. You know that during active transport, a cell uses energy from respiration to take up substances, rather like a pump uses energy to move a liquid from one place to another. When we consider about this scenario, biologists speak of the cell pumping ions and molecules in or out. The pumps are large protein molecules which are located in the cell membranes, as you can see those kind of protein pumps in the given diagram. So an example of a place where this process is going through is our nerve system. Sodium and potassium pumps are really important in nerve responses. Can you remember any other place in the human body which that process is going on? Our next topic is osmosis. Osmosis is the spontaneous net movement of solvent molecules through a selectively permeable membrane into a region of higher solute concentration. Do you have any kind of idea regarding what is selectively permeable? Selectively permeable means that the membrane has control over which molecules it lets through by active transport. So this process or this scenario will be conducted until to equalize the solute concentration on the two sides. Our next topic is osmosis process. So from the given diagram, you can clearly identify that how that process was carried out. The sucrose molecules are too big to pass through the holes in the selectively permeable membrane. The water molecules can pass through the membrane in either directions, but those on the right side are attracted to the sugar molecules. So this means this can slow them down and means that they are less free to move. They have less kinetic energy. As a result of this, more water molecules diffuses from left to right side than from right to left side. In other words, there is a greater diffusion of water molecules from the more dilute solution to the more concentrated solution. So this can be simply defined as the osmosis process. So the sucrose molecules are too big to pass through the holes in the partially permeable membrane. The water molecules can pass through the either directions, but those on the right side are attracted to the sugar molecules. This slows them down and means that they are less free to move because they have less kinetic energy. As a result of this, more water molecules diffuses from left to right than right to left. So then finally we can conclude that there is a greater diffusion of water molecules from the more dilute solution to the more concentrated solution. Osmosis experiment. So The observations which you can obtain after conducting this practical was given there. There are two major observations. The first one is the volume of the liquid in the semi-permeable bag increases, and the second one is the liquid rises up the glass tube and then it stops. Why does this happen? Can anyone guess? Because the water molecules diffuses across the membrane from the weak sugar solution into the strong sugar solution. This continues until the concentration is the same on both sides of the membrane. Osmosis and animal cells is our next topic. So, let's go. If there is a greater concentration of free water molecules outside of the cell than the inside according to the left diagram, then the water will diffuse into the cell by the osmosis process. So, as a result of that, the cell will swell up. So, you can clearly identify that process in the second diagram or the diagram which was located in right side. Osmosis in plant cells. So, according to the first diagram, there is a low water concentration outside of the cell rather than the inside. So, as a result of that, the water can be passed from inside to outside of the cell, and the cytoplasm is pulled away from the cell wall. This process can be defined as plasmolysis. Shall we move to the second diagram? In that diagram, there is an equal water concentration both inside and the outside. So, cells in the same solution stay in the same manner. In the third diagram, there is high water concentration outside of the cell rather than the inside. Then the cell is in the diluent solution and it becomes turgid. We are going to identify what are the similarities and differences between diffusion and osmosis processes. So, the major similarity is that those two processes involve the movements of molecules from a region from their higher concentration to a region of their lower concentration. Then, how are they different? When we consider about the diffusion process, it involves the movement of all type of molecules and do not involve a partially permeable membrane or the selective permeable membrane. When we consider about the osmosis process, it involves the movement of only water molecules and involves the movement of water molecules which are passing through a partially permeable membrane. Water potential. Water potential is a measurement that combines the effect of solute concentration and pressure. Water potential determines the direction of water movements, and typically we know that water flows from the regions of higher water potential to the lower water potential. So, according to this idea, you can clearly identify that the molecules in the pure water can move most freely, so pure water has the highest water potential. If a solution becomes more concentrated, the water potential of the solution is gradually decreased, and if a solution becomes more diluent, then the water potential of this solution becomes gradually increased. This is a very simple and basic law which we can apply whenever water moves by osmosis. So, let's move to the effect of water potential on plant and animal cells. According to the first diagram, you can clearly identify that there is a higher water potential outside of the cell than the inside. So, when we apply this theory to the animal cell, you can see that water moves into the cell and animal cell begins to burst. And when we apply this theory to the plant cell becomes turgid and it didn't burst because it has a very thick and rigid cell wall. And when we consider about the isotonic solution in the second diagram, isotonic solutions refers to the state when two solutions have equal concentration of solutes across a semipermeable membrane. So as a result of that, this state allows for the free movement of water without the dilution of the solutes on either side and keep cell functioning properly and nothing worse happen. In the third diagram, there is a lower water concentration outside of the cell than the inside. So, when we apply this theory to the animal cell, water moves out of the cell and animal cell begins to shrink. So, when we apply this theory to the plant cell, the plant cell becomes plasmolysed. What is plasmolyze? During this process, the plant cell shrinks and the protoplast pulls away from the cell wall. Our next topic is exchange surfaces in the body. You know that all cells exchange substances with their surroundings, but some part of the body are specially adapted for this process. Cells need to have a large surface area to its volume because then it is easier to carry out the metabolic processes in very efficient manner. Can you remember these kind of surface areas in our human body? There are major two examples. The first one is the air sacs of the lungs and the second one is the lining of the small intestine. So, shall we move to the first one? The air sacs of the lungs have a very large surface area that allows oxygen and carbon dioxide to move between the air and the blood during the breathing. Then, the lining of the small intestine is covered with tiny projections called villi, which provide a large surface area for the absorption process as well as the digestion of the food. This takes place partly by diffusion and partly by active transportation. So children, this is the time to recall your memory by doing a small quiz. Let's go. Quiz number 1. Write down the differences between diffusion, active transport and osmosis processes. So, you have to categorize the differences among those three processes in the given table. Thank you for listening to this presentation, and I hope that you have really enjoyed it and gained a good knowledge about the basic concepts of this lesson. Thank you.